Imagine you are lying in a bed. The room is quiet. The light is soft. You can hear the faint hum of a machine, the distant murmur of voices in a hallway. And with a certainty you have never felt before, that this is it. This is where your story ends. Not in a dramatic explosion, not in a sudden accident, but here in this quiet room, with time slipping away like sand through your fingers. What happens next? Not in the afterlife, not in the spiritual realm, but inside your body and your brain. What is the actual biological, neurological experience of knowing you are going to die? This is a question that science has been quietly investigating for decades. And the answers are not just fascinating. They are beautiful, strange, and deeply comforting. Today, we are going to explore the final frontier. The moment when life, according to science, prepares to say goodbye. Let's find out. According to science. Welcome to What If Science. When death is imminent, the body begins a process that is less like a catastrophic failure and more like a gentle, orchestrated shutdown. You do not simply stop. You are powered down in a sequence that is remarkably consistent across human beings. The first sense to go is hunger. The body no longer needs fuel. It is no longer building or repairing. It is conserving. The digestive system, which has worked tirelessly for decades, begins to slow and then to stop. The thought of food becomes alien. The mouth grows dry. This is not a sign of suffering. It is a sign that the body is redirecting its remaining energy to the only task that matters, keeping the brain alive for just a little longer. Then thirst disappears. The body begins to dehydrate, but this, surprisingly, is not uncomfortable. The brain releases ketones and endorphins, natural painkillers that induce a mild state of euphoria. Patients who have been revived from the brink often report that they felt no thirst, no hunger, no pain. Just a profound sense of detachment, as if the body were slowly turning down the volume on the physical world. The extremities grow cold. Blood retreats from the fingers and toes, pulling inward to protect the vital organs. The heart and the brain become the last fortresses, the final recipients of oxygen and warmth. The skin of the hands and feet may turn mottled blue, then pale. To an observer, this can be alarming, but to the person experiencing it, it is simply a fading of sensation. The body is no longer a whole. It is a shrinking island. Now let's talk about the brain, because this is where the true mystery unfolds. For decades, doctors assumed that the brain simply flatlined at the moment of death. No activity, just silence. But in the last 10 years, a series of groundbreaking studies has revealed something completely unexpected. In 2013, researchers at the University of Michigan were studying rats when they discovered something astonishing. In the moments after cardiac arrest, the rats' brains did not go quiet. They exploded with activity. Neurotransmitters flooded the synapses. Gamma waves, the brain waves associated with consciousness, perception, and memory, surged to levels higher than when the rats were fully awake and alert. Then, in 2023, a team at the University of Michigan, led by Dr. Jima Borjajan, published a study on humans. They analyzed the brain activity of 4 comatose patients as they were being taken off life support. The results were stunning. In the final moments before death, 2 of the patients showed a massive surge of gamma waves. The same waves that are active when you are dreaming, when you are meditating, when you are having a profound spiritual experience. The same waves that are present during deep memory recall. This suggests something extraordinary. In the last moments of life, the brain does not shut down passively. It activates. It performs a final, mysterious function that we are only beginning to understand. What is that function? Some scientists propose that this neural surge is the biological signature of a near-death experience. The life review, the tunnel of light, the feeling of peace and detachment, the vivid, hyperrealistic visions of long-dead relatives or childhood homes. These are not supernatural events, they argue, but the brain's final, desperate attempt to make sense of its own shutdown. A last, beautiful hallucination generated by a storm of neurotransmitters. But there is another theory, one that is both more controversial and more profound. It's called the last recall hypothesis. The brain, as it senses the end, may be performing a rapid, exhaustive scan of its entire life's memories. The gamma wave surge is the sound of your life flashing before your eyes. Not as a random dream, but as a systematic, high-speed review. The brain is searching for a final lesson, a last piece of understanding, the ultimate meaning of the life it is about to let go of. This phenomenon, the life review, is one of the most consistently reported features of near-death experiences. People describe seeing their entire life in a single, instantaneous panorama. Every joy, every mistake, every person they have ever loved, all in vivid three-dimensional detail. If the last recall hypothesis is correct, this is not a supernatural gift. It is a biological function, the brain's final act of storytelling, telling you the story of you. But what about the emotional experience? What does it feel like to know you are dying? The psychologist Elizabeth Kubler-Ross famously described the 5 stages of grief as denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And while not everyone experiences all of them, or in that exact order, the framework holds a profound truth. The mind, like the body, has a process for dying. The first stage is often not denial, but a strange, crystalline clarity. The fog of trivial worries lifts. The arguments, the grudges, the anxieties about status or money suddenly seem absurdly small. People who have received a terminal diagnosis often report a period of intense, focused awareness. They know exactly what matters, and they know exactly what does not. It is a kind of wisdom that the healthy spend a lifetime seeking, granted in an instant by the proximity of death. Then comes the review. Not the neurological one, but the conscious one. People begin to look back. They want to tell their story, to make amends, to express the love they have held back. This is why hospice workers speak of a final surge of energy, a last rallying of the spirit. A grandmother who has not spoken for days suddenly sits up and has a clear, lucid conversation with her children. A man ravaged by cancer whispers a final joke to his wife. These are the final gifts of a brain that is firing its last reserves of electricity. And then finally, there is acceptance. This is not resignation. It is not giving up. It is a deep biological peace. The brain's limbic system, the emotional center, begins to quiet. Fear circuits, like the amygdala, release their grip. The need to fight, to survive, to hold on fades away. In its place is something else, a profound oceanic calm. Now, let's turn to the body's final moments. The breathing changes. It becomes irregular, shallow, then deep and labored in a pattern known as Cheyne-Stokes respiration. It can sound like a fish gasping or a slow, rhythmic sigh. To a loved one, this can sound like suffering. But to the dying person, it is simply a reflex. The brain's respiratory center is shutting down, and the body is breathing on autopilot. The heart, that faithful engine, begins its final slowdown. The pulse weakens. The blood pressure drops. The extremities cool further. The skin may take on a waxy pallor. The eyes, even if closed, may show a fixed, unseeing gaze. This is not a sign of distress. It is a sign that the brain's sensory systems are shutting down. The visual cortex goes dark. The auditory cortex, interestingly, is one of the last to go. Even when a person appears completely unconscious, they may still be able to hear. This is why doctors and nurses encourage families to speak, to hold a hand, to say goodbye. The sense of hearing may be the last thread connecting the dying person to the world. Finally, the moment arrives. The heart stops. The electrical activity in the brain ceases. The final wave of gamma activity, if it occurred, fades into a flat line. The body is now an empty vessel, a marvel of biology that has completed its final task. But here is the most extraordinary part. For up to 10 minutes after the heart stops, a final, slow wave of electrical energy can still be detected in the brain. It is not conscious activity. It is not a thought. It is the last dying breath of a billion neurons, a final silent goodbye. Scientists call it the wave of death. And if the brain is reoxygenated during this wave, it can sometimes be reversed. But once the wave passes, the boundary is crossed. The person as a conscious being is gone. So, what happens when you know you are going to die? Science tells us that it is not a singular event, but a journey. A journey that begins with a gentle detachment from the physical, moves through a final, brilliant storm of neural activity, and ends in a peace that is hardwired into our biology. It is a process that we all share, that we will all experience, and that is as natural as being born. In the end, the body and the brain do not simply fail. They perform a final, beautiful, and perfectly orchestrated act. And that act, according to science, is not one of terror, but of peace. If this exploration moved you, if it gave you even a small moment of peace or wonder, then subscribe and hit the bell. At What If Science, we don't shy away from the biggest questions. We answer them with real science. What is the one thing you would want to hear or say in your final moments? Tell me in the comments. I'll read every single one.